So he's speaking to them in this way. Here we go, Hebrews chapter 2. Therefore, we must pay much closer attention to what we have heard, lest we drift away from it. For since the message declared by the angels proved to be reliable, and every transgression or disobedience received a just retribution, how shall we escape if we neglect such a great salvation? It was declared at first by the Lord, and it was attested to us by those who heard. Remember, declared. By those of us who heard, while God also bore witness by signs and wonders and various miracles, and by gifts of the Holy Spirit distributed according to his will. How you doing, Alba? Thanks for coming along here. So it says right here, it is crucial that we keep a firm grip on what we've heard so that we don't drift off. If the old message, which was delivered by angels, was valid and nobody got away with anything, do you think we can risk neglecting this message, this magnificent salvation? First of all, it was delivered in person by Jesus himself, and then accurately passed on to us by those who heard it from him. And all the while, God was proving it every step of the way with miracles and signs and gifts through the Holy Spirit as he saw fit. And so it says, as the founder of salvation, for it was not to angels that God subjected the world to come, of which we are speaking. It has been testified somewhere, quote, what is man that you are mindful of him, or the son of man that you care for him? You made him a little while lower than the angels. You have crowned him with glory and honor, putting everything in subjection under his feet. I could be wrong. That might be Psalms, but it could also be Job. I don't know that. But what is man that you are mindful of him? Think about that. In the Old Testament, they're wondering, who is this God that cares so much about mankind? Why? And God and his majesty and his glory and magnificence and all of the heavens and the earth, why does he care about man? Let alone the Son of Man that he cares for him. And then he says he crowned him with glory and honor and put everything in subjection under his feet. And here's what it says. Now, in putting everything in subjection to him, he left nothing outside his control. There is nothing outside of God's control. At present, we do not yet see everything in subjection to him. So right here and now, we don't see it all. But we see him for a little while, him who for a little while was made lower than the angels. I'm talking about Jesus, crowned with glory and honor because of the suffering of death, so that by the grace of God, he might taste death for everyone. Jesus did something cosmic on behalf of everyone. Keep in mind, guys, while God has become man, he is also mankind. He is our human representative, the true human. It says right here, when God put the angels in charge of everything, nothing was excluded. But we don't see it yet. Don't see everything under human jurisdiction. What we do see is Jesus made, quote, not quite as high as the angels, quote, and then through the experience of death, crowned so much higher than any angel, with a glory bright with Eden's dawn light. And in that death, by God's grace, he fully experienced death in every person's place. Whoa. So it goes on to say, for it was fitting that he, for whom and by whom all things exist, in bringing many sons to glory, should make the founder of their salvation perfect through suffering. For he who sanctifies and those who are sanctified all have one source, and that is why he is not ashamed to call them brothers, saying, I will tell of your name to my brothers, and in the midst of their congregation I will sing your praise. It says right here, and again, quote, I will put my trust in him, quote, and again, quote, behold, I and the children God has given me. Let me get one more here. It says, since therefore the children share in flesh and blood, he himself likewise partook of the same things, that through death he might destroy the one who has the power of death, that is, the devil, and deliver all of those who through the fear of death were subject to lifelong slavery. Do you see how this works, guys? Because God cannot die, and yet his creation was dying. He had to enter in, become a man so that he could die. And in doing so, he breaks the curse by defeating death and resurrecting. Because the children of God were flesh and blood, he shared in their humanity. And so he took over death. And to delivered all who, through the fear of death, were subject to lifelong slavery. Do you understand? This is one of the things God has set us free from. We do not have to fear death. We do not have to fear what is on the other side of death, because Jesus has defeated it. It says right here, I will rest my confident trust in him. I am surrounded by the children which God has given me, and in fact, I am one of them. The fact that the children are flesh and blood beings by design explains the incarnation of Jesus Christ. In the genius of God, the Word was always destined to become flesh. He lived and died in a body as fully human as ours. Dying our death was his doorway into our deepest fears. He thus disengaged the dominion of death that trapped the human race in a fallen mindset. I love this translation here. He disengaged the dominion of death that trapped the human race in a fallen mindset. As a fellow human, he redefined death and delivered them from the lifelong dread of death. Are you grasping this, guys? We are free from the fear of death because of what Jesus has done. He's our representative. He goes ahead of us. He does it first. He does it perfectly, and we all follow in his lead. Because he lives, we live. Because he resurrected, we'll resurrect. Do you get it? Because he defeated death, we will overcome death because of what Jesus Christ has done. The overcomer lives in us. The true human lives in us. For surely it is not the angels that he helps, but he helps the offspring of Abraham. Remember Abe? That's right. All these people would have definitely known Abraham. Therefore, he had to be made like his brothers in every respect, so that he might become a merciful and faithful high priest in the service of God to make propitiation for the sins of the people. For because he himself has suffered when tempted, he is able to help those who are being tempted. The Message version says this: it's obvious, of course, that he did not go through all of this trouble for the angels. It was for people like us, children of Abraham. That's why he had to enter into every minute detail of human life. And then, when he came before God as the high priest to get rid of the people's sins, he would have already experienced it all himself. All the pain, all the testing. And he would be able to help wherever help was needed. This is why it is so relevant to understand that Jesus did not arrive on the planet in some sort of celestial form. He is a human being, flesh and blood, the seed of Abraham. He himself suffered when he was tempted. He is able to help those who are being tempted. That wraps Hebrews chapter 2, guys. Awesome stuff. Great verses. So many cool things in here. We're talking about God becoming man, entering in to save his own creation from the very thing that destroys us all, death, the fear of death.